So I'm Christina. My business is A Dance with Finance, and we provide shame-free financial coaching um, for people to help them navigate their finances in a way that feels supportive and confidence building instead of judgmental and fear-based. Part of my background, I like numbers a lot. I have an engineering degree. I've worked in data, and then I moved into financial advising and eventually transitioned into coaching. And then on the emotional side, I love dancing. I've done a lot of therapy on my own, somatic work and shadow work to help bring this emotional piece into my finance work. So I really like blending both of these and helping provide more nuance with financial. I'm going to say advice, but it's not advice. Yeah. So part of the way I work with clients is through these four methods. Number one is judgment-free space, right? If you're not feeling safe with a person or you feel like someone is going to judge you, it's a lot harder for you to navigate a complex topic like your finances. A lot of us have trauma or fear or shame around money, and so I like to create as neutral a space as possible so that you can feel safe opening up. I'm going to be asking questions rather than prescribing a path because every person that comes to me has a unique way that they got to wherever they are in their life, in their finances, and there's no way that I'm going to know that unless I'm asking them questions. Number three, we're going to start with defining their personal version of success because that's the thing that matters. I'm not going to come telling them, okay, you must do X, Y, Z in order to succeed. We're going to start with looking at what they want to build for their life and what they want to change, because then they're going to be more motivated to actually do it and it's more likely to succeed. And then the last piece is to consider behavior, because a lot of what we do is behavior change, not necessarily like put your money in a savings account. Okay, that's easy, but like, what are the behaviors that got you into the financial space that you're in now? And how do we change that so that you're in a space that supports the vision that you want to create, right? So judgment-free space, questions first, defining your individual success and working on behavior change are the core pieces of the work that I do. The services that I offer, one-on-one coaching, where I work with one person specifically, or two people, a couple, if they're combined finances, to really create a unique plan. I also offer a 4-month group coaching course where each person is creating their own unique plan, but I'm holding the space as a group and they can see how other people are struggling and like where people like they feel less alone. Like they're like, oh yeah, I'm not the only one that doesn't know how to do this. And so it's less personalized but more community based. And then I have group workshops. These are like once a month where I'm teaching on a specific topic. We're not building a whole plan or anything, but it's a way for people to get started with their finances, especially if they're like scared to do anything bigger and they just want a little taste. The approach, whenever I work with anyone, whether it's an individual or a group, I'm going to be thinking about them as a unique person. We're going to start with defining success, understanding their personal values, their blocks, their challenges, like what's going on for this specific person so that we can develop a plan that actually is going to work with what they need to get them where they want to go, right? And then looking to the future, I've been running my business for 2 years now, and it's really fun. I really like it. I don't like marketing. It's really hard, but I like pretty much everything else. And so things that I want to do, I want to add into my business are like a blog, a podcast, a YouTube channel, more coaching courses, tools and resources and things like that. I feel like I've been caught up in the like, how do I get clients phase? And I don't have time right now to focus on these. And I'm trying to remember to stay right here and not jump ahead. But these are all things I'm super excited to do in the future. And right now, I think the thing that's going to help me the most is having a website to tie all of the things that I do together. I technically have the domain name. It's not really a website right now. I do a lot of things on Instagram. I have a Facebook page, and I have like emails and like a lot of things in different places. And so it's hard for me to be like to meet someone and they're like, oh, where can I find you? I'm like, well, Instagram if you have that, or Facebook if you have that, right? And I would like one place to be like, okay, here's how you find me. So then as I add things, I just add it to the website and I don't have to try to add it to everything else. So I want to make it easy for people to find me, streamline my process, and have one place where people can go and see what I'm about and how I might be able to help them. Ideal customer. I really hate that word, but I decided I'm going to write it down because it's important. Someone who has a steady income, is curious to learn about their relationship to money, interested in things like shadow work and therapy, cares about societal impact, and wants a holistic plan for their finances. Maybe not all of these are absolutely necessary, but most of them are. If this person has most of these, they're going to enjoy working with me and they're going to get a lot out of working with me. And then how can one MC help? I would love some advice on how to put together this website. I have a platform that I'm going to be using. It's called Groove. I'm looking at like what are most important things to put on that. How do I design it? Where are places where I can give this recommendation? How do I prioritize things? And then any advice on this presentation also would be great. And that's my presentation.
Thank you, Christina. Thank you. So, actually, if you just leave can you leave that screen up for a moment? Because I want us to all kind of ground ourselves in the areas where Christina is seeking support, right? To be clear. And so going back to that slide, there you go. You just leave it like that. So,
okay. Sorry.
there it is. There. Okay, it's so close. Bring it back.
There we go. Okay.
Right. So, here we go. Website, right? We know that that's one of the big hurdles for Christina, right? So if you have questions that could help to support the inquiry around effective websites, what could help to drive the messaging, et cetera, those are some places where we want to talk. Most important components, I'm assuming you mean like content pieces or bits of, okay, got it. How can I design it quickly, nicely, functionally? So questions that support the thinking around the design. Now you did say, Christina, recommendations on this presentation as well. So if there's feedback or questions that we have about how you presented, you're open to having that dialogue as well. And then ideas for future. So we're going to go ahead and start. I see, Dan, you are queued up with your hand raised. I love that. So I'm going to pass the ball to you, and then we'll go to Zoom user, whoever you might be after that.
Hey, Christina, great presentation. I liked it. I had a couple of questions. One is on the you talked about understanding their definition of success and getting to know their values and some of those aspects, which I love that. I think that's one thing that I do with clients. If I'm going to enter into a coaching engagement with them, I actually ask for their personal strategic plan as a basis to, in my case, I'm looking for alignment between the business and their personal strategic plan. But I guess my first question is, do you, is that part of your process to kind of understand them? And then, if not, do you need a resource around that? Yes.
I will ask them things like, what have you done before? And so they might be like, oh, I tried a budget. It didn't really work. Most of the people that end up coming to me don't have a strategic plan. They're like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know anything about money and things like that. And so we create that plan for them. But sometimes I'll get people who they're like, this is how I'm doing it. It's not working. I want to make it better.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And there also just one other aspect when you're talking about the website, are you looking for resources of people that could build a website for you, or are you looking for some experience share and information about how you could build a website yourself?
The second one. Yes.
Okay, all right. That was it. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. And I think our Zoom user is Jessica. So Jessica, come off the line and ask your question.
Okay, awesome presentation. In that every piece that's there is really cool. So very in line with the practice that I have. I'm a financial advisor. One of the pieces I picked up when you were talking was, if you're not a financial advisor, don't say you're a financial advisor. Because then you're saying, I'm not a financial advisor. So I caught that and I was like, oh yes, I totally know where you are. And then the other thing is, practice this with your friends, because you're coming off, I don't want to be mean when I say this. It's just, sometimes you sound like you're rolling your eyes, like, and then I've got to get this point across. So your content is awesome, but your presentation is kind of like, okay, now I got to say this. And you need to be like a little bit more, your voice needs to match what the great content you've created, your voice needs to match it. So it's just practice with friends, I think will be really helpful there. And 3, I'd love to connect offline, because I'm always finding people who need coaches and I need to feed them to them, because I'm a financial advisor and that's what I do. So next person. Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica. Now, Jessica, I know you're down for this. So thank you for because you and I are buds. And I want to frame that. And thank you because Christina did ask for feedback about the presentation. That's great. But could you maybe reframe your suggestion in the form of a question? I'd love to like create that example for people so that they can hear how that's a possibility. If you don't mind me putting you on the spot for that.
You may. So reframe which part of it, because I kind of.
So you had some specific feedback about the style of the presentation or the tone of the presentation. So how might you reframe that as a question that invites Christina to inquire about how she presented herself in her presentation?
Yeah. So Christina, I'm curious how you have practiced this presentation verbally.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
Christina, would you like to respond to that?
In my head.
Perfect. Yay. We love it.
I was like, that is great feedback. I should actually do it out loud with real people. I was definitely nervous. So yeah.
Yay. Thank you, Christina. Anything else you want to say in response to Jessica before we move to Candace?
I will definitely connect, and yeah.
Cool. Thank you. Awesome. All right. Thank you, Jessica. Candace, you're next.
Hello. This is extra fun for me because Christina, you and I do very, very, very similar work. And so I can really resonate with where you're at in terms of like getting your website going. And I have several questions. One of them is, how are you doing with copy? Like, have you looked into SEO and that piece of web design? Okay. That's okay. Yeah. That's something that I can help with if you're interested. Yeah. And then another question I have is kind of like, do you have a strategy for helping people understand the difference between their aspirational values and their practiced values? So oftentimes they come in with these kind of like, I think I'm this person, but I behave in this way that don't match, right? Like their values are different. Do you have a strategy or process for that?
I don't think it's quite concise as like you've just named it, but so people will come in and they've got these big ideas and then we look at their numbers. I don't tell them like your behavior doesn't match, because when the numbers come out, we can see like, okay, it looks like the way that you're doing your money now isn't lined up with what you need to be doing to achieve your goal.
Gotcha.
So how do you feel about that? Do you like, is the goal the priority or is your current lifestyle the priority? Which one? What's most important to you? And then and then I let them answer those questions for them to decide, because they might realize, you know what, I actually really like my lifestyle a lot, and I guess I don't care about that goal very much. Or they might be like, oh, I gotta change everything. And then sometimes they go overboard and they're like, I gotta drop all the things on my budget. I can't do anything fun. And I'm like, no, that's not gonna work. Like, you're not, like, you can't overnight make that change. So let's make a small change today. We'll meet in a week. We'll make a difference change. Like, we're gonna slowly build up to where you need to be to make this happen.
So it sounds like you're aiming more for the sustainability piece of behavioral change.
Very much, yeah.
Love that. I love that. I had another question for you, but I totally forgot what it was. But I'm hoping, honestly, like I'd love to connect with you because if we're doing similar work, I feel like we could help each other out. And also, like, I love referring out to people who might be a better fit, you know?
Yeah, great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Candace. Next up, Valerie.
I had questions and then they sort of got addressed already, but just one really basic one and then a couple subsidiary ones, but one that you didn't put in your ideal customer list that I'm curious about is if you care about, or if a criteria is based on their wealth. Do they need to be in the hole? Do they need to have a certain level of net worth? Like, or are you willing to work with any level of wealth?
That is a great question. This is a hard question to ask because people who have a lot of money sometimes need a lot of help and can't afford, think they can't afford my services. And so I have a sliding scale right now for my one-on-one services, and I try to offer payment plans for other things. But people who make very little can be like, oh no, I'm going to pay your rate. And people who make a lot might be like, I can't afford it. Can I pay the least? And I won't know that until I've worked with them. And then I can see their finances and I can see where they're at. And I can be like, oh, I see you make a lot of money, but also you're a mess right now. You can't really pay me more because your finances are a total mess. So it's not really about how much wealth you have or how much income you have when we start. It's kind of how much of a mess you are. But that's why I did put steady income as an ideal thing here, because if people don't have a solid idea of where their money's coming from, that's going to be the biggest factor. They come in and they're like, I need to get my finances straight. And we start with income and they're like, well, I have this and this job and like, it's not enough money. And I'm like, if you don't have enough money, that's the priority number one. If you don't have enough money coming in and you already know that, you should focus. That's going to be the biggest bang for your buck with your finances. Like, learning how to spend less money and pay your debt down isn't going to matter if you don't have enough income coming in. So it's more about the stability and not being in like super crisis mode than how much you're actually making. Yeah.
Got it. I have a second question, but I can wait if others have
No, go for
questions.
it, Valerie. Go for it.
Okay, great. Well, this question maybe relates to you said you hate marketing and you're concerned about your setting up your website. And I'm also pulling in the fact that you're sort of clarifying that you have done financial advising, but that's not specifically what you're doing here. So maybe you can, I'm wondering if you are able to express what the sort of customer journey is, like what you say, okay, they're coming to you in chaos, they're coming to you in a mess. So then where do you hope they're going to land at the end of that coaching or at the end of that 4-month workshop series or whatever?
Yeah.
Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, I like this question a lot. They come in, they're like, I don't know anything. I'm a mess. I don't even know where to start. And ideally, after working with me, they're like, I know what's happening with my money, and I feel confident that I can make my own financial decisions. And I'm at least on track to achieve the things that I want. And I know what I want because we've identified those. So it's really a journey in confidence building. There's education, but it's a lot of like helping empower people.
Cool.
Well,
Thank you, Valerie. So I have two questions for you. So my first question is, this space is a space for people to like learn from other entrepreneurs about the journey and the lessons kind of gained along the way. So as you look back at the last 2 years of having been in business, what would you say like your biggest lesson learned is so far?
Ooh, that's a hard question. Honestly, I think that I don't like marketing. I like started this business and was like, if I'm doing a business, I have to do marketing. And I tried learning it in a lot of different ways. I tried a lot of different things, and it was like not fun. And and I'm really happy when I'm working with clients. And I'm really not happy when I'm forcing myself to make Instagram posts. But I enjoy making them when it's not like I have to do it. And so why the website is important to me now, and what I've like realized is that like I'm talking with other entrepreneurs. I have a friend who it took her 9 years to go full time in her business, and she was like, "Yeah, I just had a part-time job for the rest of it, and I figured one day I would hit the point where I could be full time, but I don't like marketing, so I didn't do it, and now I'm full time." And I was like, I feel like I could do that route. I could do the slow and steady, not stress about a skill that I don't have yet and I'm not that interested to learn, and instead provide a presence on the internet and like let people come, because people do find me. Like I'm not 100% sure how, because I don't do as much marketing as I quote unquote should. So I think that the biggest thing I learned is like, hey, what if I just went with the things that I'm good at and stop trying to force myself to do something that's not working for me.
Cool. Thank you, Christina. I'll table my second question because I see Huba has a response and possibly a question. Go for it, Huba.
I don't know. Should I still ask questions? So Christina, hi, how are you? The question is, what is marketing for you?
Oof. I think about it as like consistently telling people that I exist and what I do and that they should work with me.
All right. So one way to look at marketing, Christina, is that marketing, what you're doing in reality is you're helping the customer, the client. You can call them something else. You can call them your stakeholder or whatever, right? To make a decision. That's it. So you don't have to go after it. And this is something that, is changing over time, because we don't like to be pitched at, right? But we do like when someone comes to us and say, hey, here are your options, or here is an option that, you may want to think about. I think that's how you have to approach it, because then you stop thinking about it like it's market, like it's your archetypical thought of marketing. Now you're helping people make a decision, and you're helping people know about their options. That's it. And you do that well.
Thanks. Yeah. Helping people make a decision sounds way better.
Right. You can't force them to buy from you, is the thing, right? But you can help them make a decision, right?
So I'll ask actually my question on the tailcoat stack, because I think it's a really good question. And since you're in the process of building a website, one of the things that I think is useful content is frequently asked questions, right? That everybody always asks, right? So my question for you is, what are the top 3 frequently asked questions that people ask you when they're inquiring about your services?
It's not how much does it cost. No one asked that question. It's so funny. Things they ask. What do you do? What do people ask? I'm like, I probably have notes because I take notes when I have intro calls and I write down the questions people ask. But they might ask like, how are you? More than what do you do, but like more like what is different about what you do than what a financial advisor would do. That's probably a good one. Can you help me with my income? No. Yeah, I'm gonna have to look at my notes, but I like that question because there's probably at least three that come up all the time.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Thank you, Christina. Dan, I see you have your hand up. Go for it. And then
yeah, just along those lines, one thing that has helped me is when people start asking me about my business and what I do, is really what I try to think of is what are the statements that people say that might indicate that they need my help. You know, I think of like, what are those, when you were talking about those intro calls, and like, what are the things that you key in on that people say, you're like, oh, that's the person I need to help because of that statement. And anyway, just throwing that out there, that might be something to look into while you're looking back through your notes, and that might help frame like what you do and who a good client would be for you.
I like that. Thanks.
Thank you, Dan. And we do have 2 minutes and 38 seconds. So Valerie and then Jessica, and then we'll wrap it up with breakout. Valerie, over to you.
A thought, I imagine, you tell me if a lot of the success of your work depends on the initial stage of people sort of getting clear, and then also building some habits. I think you use the word habits, and maybe Candace did too. And I'm curious if you've read up on the sort of science of habit building, and if you haven't, I just wanted to share that I have literally read all the habit books. So if you want to talk sometime about that, let me know. Yeah, I nerd out on that stuff. So just let me know if that's something of interest to you.
Great. Yeah, I've read several of the habit books, and that would be fun.
Cool.
Awesome. Jessica, I saw your hand up earlier. Last comment question. Go for it.
Okay, so comment, Christina, Valerie, Candace, sorry guys, we should do a happy hour and just talk money about women, and woo, totally think that would be fun. And two, Christina, I've developed a flowchart, marketing to sales pipeline for my new financial advisors that are coming in to try and see where their pain points are. So a lot of times people identify that marketing is their pain point, but actually it's upstream. It's more the sales. It's converting that name into somebody who you're actually talking to, or taking that person you talk to and creating a client, or actually getting paid. So trying to identify where you are marketing to sales is something that sometimes people miss. So it's something to go back and revisit. And I'm happy to chat with you about that if you'd like.
Great. Thank you. Yeah.
All right.